Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Lena, I'm 26 years old, I'm from Germany, and you've actually stumbled on my first video ever, so feel free to stick around and let me know what you think. I read a lot of different kinds of books throughout the year, so what better way to get to know me and my taste than doing the mid-year freakout tag at the end of August. A few stats straight out of the way. This is my GOODREADS. So far this year I've read 67 books, which even by my standards is a lot. My original goal for the year was 60, I've bumped up to 75 and now to 100 because it's been going so well, but don't get used to it. It's not normal. A lot of the books I've read this year I've really enjoyed. There were very few misses. Like I said, genres are all over the place. I love poetry, I love plays, I love classics, sci-fi, fantasy, occasionally a good thriller, and a lot of modern normal novels. And there's a bit of everything on this stack, I think. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Going by the tag, the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? And this is a book that I started really early in the year actually, and it is How Kaddish and Other Poems by Allen Ginsberg. I got this for Christmas, I think. Asked for it because I've been meaning to get into beat poetry for a while now, and it's amazing. Allen Ginsberg is from New York. He had a rough upbringing, really rough life, and a lot of this is in here. It's brutal, but it's also beautiful. I loved every single poem in here. Hal was probably my favourite. Kaddish is about his mother and it's also really good, and I'm not much of an underliner, but I underlined quite a bit in here because it's so rich and raw and touching. So this was a big surprise. I think I'm gonna get some more beat poets, but also I've got to make sure that I read more by Allen Ginsberg himself. The next question on the list is the best sequel we've read so far this year. I don't usually read a lot of series, but it's a bit different this year. But the best one, and the best one sequels wise also, I don't have it in completion because I got it from the library and read it online, but I have these two beautiful editions of Sandman, the Kindly Ones, but really I'm talking about the whole series. These are in German. I love them. I got them on sale and they're like a limited hardcover edition. There's only 444 of these. I love these, but I really want to get all of the Sandman, and I think I'm gonna get the omnibus collection at some point, even though it's really pricey. But these comics really are as good as everyone says. They're dark, gloomy, intelligent, beautiful, such amazing characters. Really confusing at the start, but once you get into it and meet all of the characters, also so scary and exciting. I just fall in love with everyone. So the best sequel, Sandman, just in general. I don't know if you can really count it as sequels, but that's certainly the best series I've read so far this year. I also watched the TV show and really enjoyed it. And then we've got the new release you haven't read but want to, and that's an easy one because I got this right when it was released and I still haven't got round to it because I didn't have the time, and I wanted to get to this chunky book when I actually had time to read the whole thing, and that is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I only read Priory last year. Shame on me, I know. I haven't been keeping up with my high fantasy, but absolutely loved it. So I cannot wait to get into this beautiful book. I really want to do it this year. I'm excited. So next up is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Because it's late August, I think this book is literally coming out this week, but I haven't got it yet, so I'm gonna count it, and that is He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan, the sequel to She who became the sun, which I only read this year as well and really enjoyed. It's not one of my absolute favourite fantasy series ever, but I'm really excited to see where it's going. I originally thought it was a standalone, so when I saw that there was going to be a sequel, I didn't quite know what to think, but it's definitely going to be worth picking up. Next up is the biggest disappointment of the year. I don't have a physical copy of this because I borrowed it from my mum, I think, and that's Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This was my first time reading Sally Rooney, and I really thought I was gonna enjoy her writing, but Conversations with Friends, at least, I didn't like at all. I really didn't like any of the characters. I was not interested in the plot, and it's not for lack of plot. I don't mind when there's no plot, but I do mind if I don't like the characters and I don't care about what's happening to them. I didn't dislike the writing in general, thought it was good. I might try one more Sally Rooney novel just for good measure, but from what I hear, all of her books are a little bit like that, so probably they're just not for me, unfortunately. But now for something happier, the biggest surprise of the year. So I always like to read the classics in most genres because I always think it's really interesting to see what I like and then from there on sort of figure out the direction I want to go in. Sometimes it ends up being not very good, especially with science fiction. There's a lot of science fiction classics I can't get into, but this one I absolutely loved, and that is Solaris by Stanislav Lem. This is such a good, exciting thriller. You have no idea where it's going. It's about a guy landing on Solaris on a sort of station they've set up here for scientific experiments because they don't really understand the planet yet. And when he gets there, there's no one there at first, and weird things start happening. The people who are still there aren't really telling him what's going on and why they're all kind of going crazy. And it's such a good book about people and their need to explain everything. I thought it was brilliant, really enjoyed it, got through it really quickly. The next question is, who's my new favourite author? And this can either be because they've debuted this year or because you didn't know about them before. Since I don't really read a lot of new releases, I'm gonna have to go with the latter of these. And my favourite new author this year is Tillie Walden. I Love This Part. The first book I read by her is On a Sunbeam. I got it from the library because I thought it looked so pretty, but just because a comic looks pretty, I don't tend to buy it straight away because they're just too expensive to take that risk, and if they don't turn out good, I just end up being disappointed. But Tillie Walden writes so well. She uses so few words to get across tons of emotion. Her books are super queer, full of joy and sadness and prettiness of the universe. Absolutely amazing. I Love This Part is also a queer love story that is happy and sad, and it is absolutely gorgeous, full of these comparisons with nature, and the two main characters enjoying music together. It's also really adorable, making my queer heart jump up and down with joy, and also cry out of sadness. So worth it. And Tillie Walden is actually also the answer to my newest fictional crush, because I don't tend to crush a lot of people from books, but when you can actually see their faces, it's a different story. So On a Sunbeam, I loved the relationship between Alma and Char, and I think Alma she's cute. Let me just say that. So yes, that's 2 questions answered in one go, pretty much. Definitely would recommend reading these. I think On a Sunbeam is like available completely for free online because it started out as a webcomic, so definitely check that out. Next up, we've got your newest favorite character, which is from a book that I also could have used for the biggest surprise tag. And the book is The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, and the character is Eleanor Lenska, of course. If you've read it, tell me you agree. I got this basically because it was really cheap secondhand. This is how I get a lot of my books and a lot of my surprise likes and favourites. If you don't know the story, this is about Newland Archer, who is engaged to be married to May, I think her name is, really happily. He feels like he's in love, and suddenly Eleanor Lenska enters their life. He's a cousin of May, and she split up with her husband, which in New York in the 1870s is frowned upon. And she completely turns around his life. I'm not going to tell you too much more about the plot, but what you need to know is basically Newland Archer finds out he is accidentally turning into a feminist, which is in parts hilarious. I laughed so much. And Ellen is the main reason for this because she is amazing. She doesn't care about anybody. She's got so much life experience. Conventions don't matter to her, and at the same time she's so compassionate and just wants everyone around her who's helped her to be happy, and she puts that above herself always. It's a bit of a sad love story. I think I can say that without spoiling too much. It takes a while to get into it, but then I just rushed through it. Such a huge surprise. I can't wait to read more Edith Wharton. And Ellen is a character I'm going to think about for a very long time. A book that made me cry. I cry really easily at books, so there's a lot of books I could have mentioned here. I picked 2 because my favourite one, my number 1 choice, you probably won't be able to read unless you're German. Sorry about that. And that is Fallensteller by Sasha Stanisic. He's one of my favourite authors ever, and other books by him are available in English and other languages, so check him out if you want to. I cried at all of his books, so I feel like it still counts. This one is a short story collection. I think it's really hard to make you care enough in a short story to cry, but the last story in here literally had me sobbing. It's so sad. A lot of his stories are about the civil war in Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, or would have been Yugoslavia at the time. He himself had to flee from there to Germany, and his viewpoint is often so innocent that it makes it all the more devastating. So check out his work if you can. And the other book I wanted to talk about is another poetry collection by Gioconda Belli. I don't know if this exact collection is available in English and what it would be called, but just in general, I got this really cheaply this year and was so surprised at how much I loved it. Gioconda Belli also writes a lot about war, also about civil war in Nicaragua specifically, and these poems are so brutal, and they're a lot about women in war and also countries as almost female entities that have to endure male violence, and these poems just blew me away. I was really surprised by that. I cannot wait to read some of her novels. I've got one on my TBR and I can't wait to get to it. So yeah, those 2 will be my answer for most cried this year so far. Up next is a book that made you happy. So I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this book and its ending, and that's Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. You've probably all seen this book. It blew up last year, I think. I got it from a second-hand bookstore, even though it's in supreme condition. And I was really surprised at how much I related to this character and how much it moved me to see her try and live her life as she sees fit and not as the people in her life see fit. And seeing her succeed made me really, really happy. And I think it made me think about my life a lot more than I expected it to, in a good way. Sort of figure out what I could do to make sure that I was living for my own joy and not the expectations of the people around me. Second to last question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? And that's a really easy answer in this case. Again, this is a second-hand book find. It cost me a total of 12 euros, which is absolutely insane. I'll say, as you can tell, I love pretty and old books. These ones I don't think they're very old, but they're really, really pretty. And this is the collected works of Rainer Maria Rilke. So another German, but you'll have heard of him. Look at this beautiful stack of books. They are so gorgeous, in perfect condition except for the box. The books themselves, look at that, they're so pretty. Because it's a lot of poems, they're also fairly easy to read. I don't usually enjoy reading from really tiny books, but this is fine. I'm currently in the middle of the second book. I'll give myself time to get through these, but they just look so pretty. I love them so much. And I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the poetry of Rilke, because I know everyone's been raving about it for ages, but I had to read some of it in school, didn't enjoy it back then too much. So I was a bit hesitant to get back into it, but the first book blew me away. It was so good. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of it as well. And this brings us to the very last question, of course. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I've got a bunch here that I want to just quickly talk about. I have this thing where I try to read the oldest books on my TBR, and that's these two. One of them is a novel by Simone de Beauvoir. Let me check out what it's called in English because I don't know currently. I've read The Second Sex. It was really hard to get to. I listened to it as an audiobook, but my mom gave me this, and I'm a little bit scared about her novel writing because it's also a big boy. And she wasn't primarily a novelist, but I do need to get around to this. So that's one of the goals. The other one is this beautiful copy of the Kreutzer Sonata by Leo Tolstoy. It's not in perfect condition, but I thought it looked pretty, and I've loved War and Peace and Anna Karenina, and I've heard people say that the Kreutzer Sonata is also really good. I don't think I enjoy a lot of the other writing by Tolstoy, but I want to give this one a shot. And the last two are classics that I really need to get around to that I've borrowed from my mum. One of them is a German classic, and that's The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. It's a big boy. I'm kind of intimidated, but I've been told I'm probably going to love this, so I really want to finish that this year. And the other one is going to be my holiday read, hopefully next week, and that is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I know, shame on me for not having read this before. I'm really excited to dig into this. I feel like it's going to be the perfect holiday read. So that amounts to my mid-year freakout tag for 2023. Even though it's slightly late, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it got you a sort of first introduction to my reading, what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy. Feel free to follow me on here or on GOODREADS. I'll put all of the info in my description. Got a few things planned and I hope I'm gonna stick to it. So hopefully see you very soon. Thanks and goodbye.